Not gonna lie. So, what's going on, everybody?
What is happening?
Don't look at me.
Lizzie's
I don't know the answer to this.
Lizzie's sporting the new Infinite Swirl. Was it any good?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah?
It reminds me of like a
See, it's
punch.
pineapple.
Yeah, it's like the punch drinks at like baby showers and stuff like that with the berry, the blue, like the Hawaiian punch and with the pineapple. It's kind of what it reminds me of.
Mountain Dew Infinite Swirl.
Yeah, so
It's pineapple berry.
All right.
shout out to KJ52 because she's addicted to Mountain Dew.
Gotta put that label in now. There we go.
There you go.
Wow. This is not
hey,
an official
you know,
sponsored.
If Jonah wants to come chill and do a podcast with us, that would be cool. I'll tag him on this stuff. I'm gonna tag you if you're listening. If you see this, whatever. So he's from down here.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
anyways, yeah. So today I do want to say thank you again to the listener who had the question for last week. She did give feedback and say that it was very helpful for her. All the things that we talked about and just processing how to deal with things. So
That's great.
it's cool that we got some feedback after the request and everything. So
We need more feedback.
more feedback. And not the bad kind in like the microphones and such, but like from you guys.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let us know.
Lettuce.
Lettuce. Bacon.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So today's topic that I want to talk about is why is it important to be plugged into the church?
Okay.
Some people believe they can lone wolf Christian life, but and as much as like that's generally the go-to for this topic, I kind of want to talk about like the benefits, you know, and
Of lone
how it's
wolfing
helped.
it, or
no, of the being plugged in. You can speak on the lone wolfing it. It's okay.
I participate in church. I don't know what you're talking about.
You actually, you know, you have a small
Kind of-
group and everything, so yeah.
Kind of my job too. So
Yeah.
Job schmob. All right, so first thing we're going to do before we pray
uh-oh.
is tell you that we're going to do this thing.
Yes.
We got these talking point cards that Matt Tata brought in,
It's my fault.
and that's Matt, by the way. That's Lizzie, by the way, and I'm Derek, if you're just now tuning in.
Yeah.
So they're really neat, and we're going to
Great.
pull one or two of these randomly throughout the podcast and see how that feels and flows, even though it's a slight rabbit trail, but it'll be fun.
Let's have some
See
fun.
what God does with it. So
Rabbit trails.
I'll pray today.
Well, we didn't even break. What do you mean you're going to pray today?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, welcome to the Truth Response.
So, Derek, why don't you pray?
Yeah, I can do that. I would love to.
All right.
Yeah? All right, I'll pray. Thank you, Lord, for this day. Just thank you for everything you've given us, everything you've shown us, God, and all the guidance that you provide as we go through life with you. I pray that you guide this conversation and just reveal to us, if not new things, remind us the basics, God. And so often we realize that you take us back to the basics so that we can build from there. And I just thank you for doing that. Thanks for your love, your grace, and your mercy. Pray that it pours out on all those we come in contact with. It's in your precious and holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so before we get into this topic, I want to do the first card.
Oh, first card.
All right.
All right, there we go.
Now, I'm not going to make you share the story.
What?
I'm just going to ask you the question. I mean, unless you really want to.
What's the card say?
All right, the card says, think of a difficult time in your life. Did you feel closer to or further away from God? And why might that be?
Okay, well, I can think of many difficult times in my life. And the answer varies with each one.
The answer is yes.
Yes. The answer is
All right,
yes.
so give us a specific one then, I guess.
You just said we didn't have to share if we didn't.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, you broke your own... I'll go ahead and share that.
So the answer is yes, and because. That's the parent answer.
Well, sometimes... Well, I'll put it this way, in a general terms. Depending on what you're going through, sometimes God just seems kind of silent, and you're wondering if he's helping you in that situation or not, and that is a weird place to be. It can be. A lot of people, when they get into that space, especially those who aren't as anchored in their faith, it can be a faith shaker and cause lots of doubt. I would say this. I've learned enough, though, at this point where even there's times where I don't necessarily feel him there or hear him or whatever. I know he's still there. Sometimes, the teacher is silent while the test is being given, so I just need to endure and find my way through it. But yeah, that answer that card, you think?
Yeah, I actually think that something we can jump off of with this card applies directly to this, and that's have you ever had a difficult time in your life where you weren't in church and you didn't have church people around to help you through it? And if so, like, what did that feel like in comparison to, being plugged into the church with church people around you that are doing life with you?
Trying to handle, going through a situation where you don't have a faith community with you you just feel ostracized.
Makes things 10 times harder.
Yeah. Because you realize that pretty quickly that the support you have is often superficial around you, and you just kind of get lost in it. You don't have anybody that's trying to lift you up with truth, speak truth into your life, and that you can trust in that way, where there's no other agenda than to love you. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So you say that you can trust. One of the thoughts that goes into lone wolf Christianity, which is when you think you can do it without the church, right? Is that you can't trust people in the church, and that's why I can do this on my own because the people in the church I can't trust. What would you say to people that struggle with that?
Trusting people in the church?
Right.
You're right. Oh.
Well, I mean...
But you can't... But,
you're not
they're
wrong,
more
right?
trustworthy than a lot of other people you run into.
I would say it depends
Maybe.
on how what the subject is that you're approaching. And let's just remember what the church is full of, right?
Sinners.
Exactly. All right? Those who are looking to find justification only and through one way, which is Jesus. Means that it is not by their works. This is a very important part of the gospel that a lot of people need to realize, for those who keep focusing on works. It's not by what you've done, meaning you didn't earn this.
Right.
Okay? Nothing you did made it more possible for you than other people. That being said, that means we're all in the same boat in that. And so if you look at people they're just a bunch of flawed individuals. Yeah. They're hypocritical. Yeah, a lot of them are. Because they're going through this journey and they're not getting it right. A lot of people don't get it right.
Yeah.
Maybe for a long time. Maybe until the end. If they're approaching you because they're trying to be loving, I would trust in that. If they're chasing Jesus and it's led them to feel like they should reach out to you and love on you and support you and encourage you, I would trust in that. You know, as long as they're not coming and you can tell that there's some other agenda, and they're part of your church family, and it's just about where are they coming from. You know, if they're trying to be, if they're genuinely trying to be the hands and feet of Jesus, you know, doesn't mean they're going to get it right, but there's not a way, you shouldn't be like trying to avoid that. Some people are self-righteous in themselves, and their path is going to be long. I mean, we all are a little self-righteous sometimes, you know, but because pride sneaks into situations. So, you know, to say, well, that person, yeah, well, I want you to remember something when you're pointing at anyone in the church. It's like, is that you have a few fingers pointing right back at yourself, and you should pay attention to that. You know, that's why Jesus said, you know, you worry about the speck in your brother's eye and you got a plank hanging out your own eye. Well, you're all the same. You're a sinner too, if you point out something to them. And so if they may be flawed in how they help or try to approach you on things, but you could be the same way, and if the tables were turned. But the importance of the church is not just the fact that we're all needing the same thing. It's the fact that we can encourage each other forward on that journey. You know, it's, yeah, go ahead.
And for me, like most of the people that want to lone wolf it that I've talked to and had conversations with have a problem with accountability is what it basically comes down to. Accountability and
pride
or feeling like somebody has an authority of over their life besides God. Like giving somebody the ability to have that accountability and stuff like that gives somebody else power.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's dangerous.
Over them in their eyes.
I've had that conversation with many people over the years where they're like, one was trying to learn me. They were like, let me tell you, you don't need to be in a church to follow God. That's not how it was supposed to be. And that's what they were telling me. You know, you can do it on your own. It's really just about a relationship with God. That's all you need. You don't need anybody else. And they were saying it was really fun for me because I was like, okay, well, I don't agree with you.
Show that to me in the Bible.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, they always went out together and did things together. And
well, you know, Jesus,
fellowship of believers, and he didn't send them out by themselves.
No. I think you're right, Lizzie. I think that a lot of people have trouble with, you know, some people, perhaps there are some that are just afraid to let themselves be vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not necessarily a pride thing or accountability thing. They're just, maybe it's the fact that they've been hurt by people in the past. Mm-hmm. And so the idea of opening up to more people is one of the most terrifying things that they can do. And I get that if that's the case. I mean, okay.
So let's tangent for just a minute on that, right? Like, yeah. So as brothers and sisters in Christ, when someone comes to us with something that they're being vulnerable about, how are we supposed to respond? That was one of the topics I was tossing up talking about today, right? And so like, how are we supposed to respond to them? Because sometimes like something that is a struggle for somebody, right? Yep. Isn't a struggle for us, and vice versa. So it easily becomes sometimes as Christians the whole, well, people have got it much worse than you do. Why are you thinking that way? Or, you know, I don't know, whatever it might be. So, like...
Yeah, I usually only use that line on myself, not on other people.
I think okay, so if I can break it into an acronym.
Acronym it up.
I would say that
acronyms today.
I know. I've had so many today. It's bad. But that's what happens when you write sermons.
Acronym.
Anyway, I think if somebody approaches you with anything that they're struggling with, concerned with, you should always approach them with glee. G-L-E.
Like the show?
No.
Oh, okay.
Grace, love, and encouragement.
Well, that's just glad.
Well, I mean,
Extra
yeah.
encouragement.
Extra encouragement. Extra encouragement. Glee. There you go. Thanks for the hand. Yes. But grace first. Okay? Grace, I think, needs to be at the forefront. Number one, because as even in an individual stance, we all need grace. And we need to remember that. As I said before, we're like, if we're all flawed, then we all need grace. So you may not struggle with what that person's struggling with, but you have stuff that you're struggling with. And so even out the cross, right? It's fine.
Yep.
So grace for, if they're struggling with it, whether you are not, let's give them some grace. Then love. Because that's what we're called to do, is love. Once we understand that we're both the same kind of person, we can love that same kind of person. Love them through their pain and encourage them then in how they can maybe take some steps. I want you to understand, though, to anyone listening, that when I say encourage, okay, I do not mean
putting notes on the desk that says
oh no,
stress
that
is
was
just
funny.
dessert spelled backwards.
So, yeah, well, yeah. No, I
That's
don't.
funny because dessert is how I, fix stress. So, anyways.
I don't mean take authority over.
Yeah.
Some people think encouragement is taking someone and then suddenly putting authority over them, where now you're going to ride them and you're going to just, like, accountability is a good thing, but they just kind of jump overboard with it. It's almost like they want to bash them in the head. And there's a bit of self-righteousness that comes in there where you're like, well, you need help here. I'm like, yeah, you do. So that's not, when I say encourage, I mean, like, yeah, you know what? It's okay. You can get through this.
It's okay to
We all
divide
struggle.
those terms, right? Like,
Yeah.
The whole
Yeah.
accountability and encouragement are two different things,
Yeah,
right? Like,
and accountability is something that is not always freely given or allowed. We talked about this before, where it's really you need to start with a relationship. If you're having a relationship where you can hold each other accountable, that's the best, because then you can go back and like, hey, we talked about this. But at the very least, if you want to hold anyone accountable on anything, instead of thinking of accountability, just think about it as concern. So where if you're
that's
saying,
good too. Yeah.
whereas somebody says, hey, I'm struggling with this, and you're like, it's okay, you can get through this. Here's some things you could think about. If you ever want to talk, let me know. And then maybe,
or what can I do to help you with that?
exactly. And then in concern, not accountability, there's a difference.
Yep.
You can just reach out to them and be like, hey, I was thinking about you and that thing we talked about. Just want to let you know again, if there's anything, or hey, I just wondered if you did try anything like that out. And it's at that point you're not overbearing them. You're allowing them to grow, and you're loving them, and you're encouraging them, but you're not going overboard with it. So yeah, or you can do what Lizzie did today, as where I came in, and I've just had a lot of different things I've been stressing about when it comes to, well, lots of things I'm working on. I don't need to get into everything, but it's a lot. And so there are Post-it notes here, there, and everywhere, all over my desk area, with encouraging things. And it was really nice and surprising.
Surprising coming from her, or just
Wow.
Surprising to see Post-it notes all over the place. She's
someday
actually,
I'll get Post-it notes.
You may not be encouraged, but she is very encouraging to me, so I appreciate it. But it was nice. It was nice to see.
So okay, so let's take
But
it just
also-
one step further before
well-
we move on. Oh, go ahead.
You, like, when somebody comes to you with something like that, you need to also take it seriously.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
with a proper attitude, and not just blow it off, because somebody has spoke to you about something that maybe they're struggling to tell other people about, or maybe they haven't told anybody else, or so, like, being serious about it and not laughing it off and not brushing it off, or not dismissing it or whatever, because it might not be a struggle that you have, or something like they're struggling with it and they're coming to you. Like, how would you want somebody, if you were struggling with something, how would you want them to react, and how would you want them to treat you?
Yeah.
Not to mention, I think there's some responsibility. A lot of times, it's not it's not one-on-one. It's usually in some sort of a group setting. You've joined a Bible study, you've joined a life group, you've joined a discipleship group or whatever, and a situation happens where you're being vulnerable, right? But so as the listener, it's also our responsibility to set the example and stop others from brushing things off like that by being serious about it, taking it seriously, and setting that example. What would you say to the person who is the recipient, right? That person who's been hurt by the situation.
Okay, can you said the situation? Which situation?
By like being brushed off or whatever, like, because we talked about how we should act, but what would you say to the person who's been treated that way? Because that's where we branched off, was the lone wolf, right? So
Right.
What would you say to the person, maybe not trying to lone wolf it, but who has had that situation?
I mean, honestly, it goes back to the beginning. I mean, they need grace. I would just explain the same thing. They need grace just as much as we do.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, people aren't always on their A game. You know, and I mean,
and I'll say it. I'm sorry that happened to you. Like,
yeah. First off, yeah.
like, and if it was me, I'm way more sorry. But like, there's been
Right.
times where I could say that I've not, taken it as seriously or whatever. But also, it's a reflection for them too. Is like, sometimes people do say stuff offhand and like just to throw it out there, and like they kind of hoping that nobody pays attention to it, and then you can't be offended then if nobody pays attention to it. Like I've seen people do it as a joke, or like kind of try and sneak it in there, and they don't necessarily, they want the attention, but they really don't want the attention.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to,
Yeah.
get it off their chest just so they can say that to themselves that they've put it out there without actually. Yeah. But I mean, okay, so going back to, the funny thing about church hurts is that it's unique. And what I mean by that,
Every time.
Oh yeah. Well, not just in situation, but you understand that, this, when we go to the church, we're going there for what may be the most important thing in our life. Well, actually, no, I'll go further. The most important thing in our life is what we're going there for, because we're talking about spiritual stuff, relationship with God, okay? And when we get hurt by someone in the church, it's different. Like, people can upset us at a baseball game, and people can upset us in the supermarket. People can upset us in school or whatever it is, and we don't look at it the same way. We know, and it can't be on the same level. That's why you don't I've got school hurt, I've got baseball hurt, I've got this. You don't hear those things, but you hear about church hurt, and the reality of church hurt. You know what I mean?
Right, because there's different expectations from
those people
church
know
people.
better.
Well, and church people claim something, right? There's a claim that
Or those people should know better.
links
not
to
necessarily do.
church people, right? So,
Yeah.
I want to challenge something you just said, though, and just ever so slightly. Maybe it's semantics, but the reason we can connect with God anywhere.
Oh yeah.
Outside of church, we can grow in God. Outside of church, we go to church to be around church people.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, to grow closer to God with church people. I mean, everything we do should be revolving around God, right?
Yeah.
Like we should be, anything we do it for the glory of God. So, but going to church, doing things at church, is literally about coming together as believers, doing the thing, right?
Well, absolutely. Well, there's life in community. We're not really made to be alone. I believe that. I definitely believe it. And the thing is life in community is important. Jesus displayed this for us. Okay. Yes, there were times where Jesus pulled away by himself. Yes, that's true. But it was then to go and be with his inner three, be with his 12, be with the masses. Yes, faith is personal. But even if it is first personal, and it is then immediately communal. It is not meant to stay personal. It is meant to be shared with other people so that we can sharpen each other up. The whole iron sharpens iron thing. So that we can encourage each other. So that we can hold each other accountable. Because the thing is going back to, with the problems that we all have, that we're going to work in our, sanctification journey, which is what a faith journey is. When we fall on our own merit, it's hard for us to pick ourselves back up. But when we have other people that can help pull us back up, encourage us forward, help us to learn from what we've done, and not try to make excuses for the things that we're doing, that's what it's about. Jesus, he shared it. He had a direct connection to the Father, and he did pull himself aside sometimes, but he was immediately communal. He was always pushing it forward, encouraging his disciples, correcting his disciples, teaching the masses. There was always something going on. That's what that's what faith looks like. If we, a lot of people that want to do it by themselves, I think you're right, Lizzie, again, that I think there's some self-justification going on, where this is what I think, and if no one can tell me different, then I'm right. Let's go to another card.
I don't like that one.
It's supposed to be random. I want to see what it is now. Oh yeah, that's not appropriate for this one.
What the heck?
It's not bad. It's just
What
can
do
make
you
everything
imagine the church will be like 100 years from now?
Oh, you really don't like that one, do you?
What do I? Okay.
Hopefully.
I like that question.
Hopefully, I hope that this will all be over.
Wow.
100 years from now. Jesus come back,
Yeah, I hope the emphasis goes, I see it slowly turning, but, goes back to discipleship and, being a part of your community and spreading. I don't know if it's more, the whole grassroots thing has me very intrigued. Grassroots Christianity,
Explain. I have no idea what you're talking about.
So, instead of, big churches and stuff like that, people go to church, yes, but, the home groups and the being involved in each other's lives, and not, this big corporate where, all we're doing is, entertainment or,
Was paying to watch a concert and the guy would speak every Sunday?
Yeah. So back it was in the early church where they're just telling everybody and talking about it and going out into the world, and it became so much a part of their lives and who they were that those that ran into them knew who they were and what they believed to some extent. Or who they belonged to might be a better way of putting it.
Yeah. I don't know. If it's not all over in 100 years, with the population growth that we're going to have, because we're growing so fast now. The churches are just going to keep growing, and they're going to keep getting built, and the work is just going to get that much more.
I don't know, man.
And
I
maybe even more
see.
difficult.
I see right now that, the numbers of people in churches that we thought were, following God is not nearly what we thought it was. And we can see that by, the woke churches. Let's see. Kindest way to say that without, stepping on too many people's toes. The woke churches where they've bent rules and made it okay to do certain things because it,
Yeah, well, if that pattern continues and people don't, and it's not, stopped, really, I mean, that's the best way to put it. It sounds like a harsh way to put it, but it's really, then, yeah, I'm back with you on I imagine a rapture happening. That's what I imagine. I'm ready to go. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, but realistically speaking, 2,000 years ago, they thought the same thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They were ready for it, and
They were
thinking it was coming.
And
they thought the end is
Soon
near.
is relative.
my optimism, I don't know, my optimism and my skepticism collide in this one too, because my optimism is like, hopefully churches like in general be more unified about being the body together instead of fighting for people over people. When there's more than enough people for all the churches. But my skepticism said, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Well, I love the ecumenical heart. That means unity. That you have for it. Because I felt the same. I really wish that was the case. I wish. And the thing is it comes from a lot of where we're at in a denominational standpoint. Like the non-denominational churches tend to look at things that way, where it's like, hey, if we could all just agree on this important stuff and get rid of all that stuff that keep people fighting about, then we'll be okay. But the problem is twofold. Number one, there's other denominations that basically put it as our way or the highway, and then the other thing is that people love stuff to argue about. So I'm not saying that anyone in this room, Derek, likes to do that, but it happens. So, and people love drama. I mean, it starts when kids are young. We talked about this earlier. It's ridiculous. And so
that's where I draw the line. I don't want the drama. I want the arguments, but I don't want the drama.
Yeah. But, yeah, what will the church be like? Man, if the church is still going in 100 years,
the world may never. Sorry.
I mean, I'd rather soon be over, really is what I'm looking at. But, like, for those who know what I'm saying, I'd rather soon be done. But
we might even have Jews in space. Sorry.
Thanks, Mel Brooks. But, yeah, I mean, who knows, man? It's optimistically, if it can keep turning a decent tide, then it could be awesome.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, then it could be a nightmare.
That's actually the approach I believe John Cooper takes. Is that he's one that, if I'm not mistaken, he's one that believes that the church will just continue to grow to the point of most everybody believing, and that's when things will come to pass, or maybe afterwards. I don't know, something like that.
That line of thinking is cool. But go ahead.
Oh, I also think that like in 100 years, because of the way that churches are and churches work and stuff, we might have a swing where there's no mega churches in 100 years. Like that might be a thing that fades away and is completely gone by then.
Yeah.
Well, 100 years from now, I mean, we could also be living in a country where we're persecuted.
That's true.
These are also.
I mean, this could also be a
doesn't take
persecuted
much.
Country. I mean, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go from.
And then you're not looking at big churches anymore unless it's the church of the state.
Yeah.
So which people freak out about when you say anything like that. So
that is a reality, that it is a possibility. I actually have pointed out many times. Anytime I see anything that I see as groundwork for that, I like to point it out to people like this is this is how it starts. Stuff like this. And you look at what happened in China. It wasn't that long ago they were allowing people to be Christian and worship together and all that, and then they started being like, well, now you can't do this, now you can't have this, and now you're not allowed. It was a progression thing, and it was really wild to watch. But like I said, it doesn't take much. Here it would take the wrong politicians in place, putting the wrong policies with the wrong set of events that they're willing to capitalize on, and that's how it would be. It'll be crazy. So
let's see.
Yeah, I know we weren't supposed to.
That's exactly right there. Do you think that religion has a place in politics? If so, what is it?
Okay, I don't really
quick tangent. It's a simple answer, right? And it doesn't get too political at all whatsoever. Religion, or the things that you believe, are what you believe. It makes up who you are. Of course, it has a place in politics because it makes up who you are. So anyone who thinks that religion doesn't have a place in politics, they don't understand that your religious beliefs make up who you are. So that's my thing with that. Of course it does, because you base all of your opinions and thoughts upon who you are and your experiences.
Yeah. So, anywho.
Anyways,
Yeah, so church,
back to the church.
if it could look, I don't know. I mean, and I love I love the optimism of that one guy's thinking. It's a cool way of thinking, except for it starts to flirt with something that we got to be conscious of as well. The guy that says, it'll be when there's enough Christians, because that's basically saying when there's enough Christians, then the end will come. And
See, I think it's the other way around.
But the thing is possibly. But the thing is that line of thinking flirts with the idea that we have some control over when the end will come.
Well, I think that I don't think we have control. I think that there might be a conversation. Kind of like the conversation Abraham had, right? Like, there's one righteous person, or there's 15 righteous people, 50 righteous, whatever, other way around. But
Yeah.
I almost wonder if there's that conversation being had. Maybe that's just God's waiting for a certain number, but,
Who knows? But the thing is, so God doesn't need. I mean, he really doesn't require us in order to play out whatever he's going to do.
But the cool thing is he's never required us for anything, but he's always used us.
Yeah. So it's just kind of weird. Just be careful. That's all I'm saying. Is
Yep.
be careful when you start to take too much of it into our hands and take some of it out of God's hands. So.
Right.
He
Right.
he accounts for your stupidity.
Yeah. And he loves you all the same.
Yep.
So what are some benefits that we have of being plugged into the church?
I could say people who genuinely care about the most important thing, your eternity. That is something that I love the most. The fact that someone cares whether we're all going to make it out of here, off this earth, you know what I mean? And then back on again. But you know what I mean? Like,
On a new one.
on a whole new world. But,
Dazzling place.
yeah.
Anyways.
Anyway, I just started visualizing that in a whole different way. No, but the reality is I love that people genuinely care for my soul, and I think that only comes from being part of the church. When you actually have a relationship with God and you care about what He cares about, which is other people, you are definitely part of the church. That's what the church is supposed to be, is people caring about each other's eternity, caring about each other's salvation, caring about each other's sanctification and well-being. So therefore, it's easier as a church body that looks like that to care for the poor or those who are making bad decisions or who are on hard times.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, like, the biggest encouragement for me is having people that are praying for me.
Yeah, the dudes.
Like, whether I knew it or not, and whether, Miss Pam yells at me for doing stupid things and tells me she's going to pray that I don't do stupid things. I mean, just knowing that somebody took the time, like, even if you're not religious, even if you don't believe in God, that somebody took out time out of their day to talk to somebody who they think, obviously if you're not a Christian, you don't think that he's real authority, but they thought enough about you to talk to this person about you, or to, pray, or to hope that you are getting better, or whatever the situation is. Like, that's super impactful.
Yeah. One of the things that I like the most is the fact that sometimes there's people placed in your life that are willing to argue with you for the sake of your salvation, for the sake of your sanctification, the betterment of you. Like, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have some of the guys that I've got in my life here at this church, that have helped me change so many things in my life. And sometimes it took them being aggressive in order for me to listen. Yeah. So, I know that that's something we talked about last week, but people to fight for you.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting you say that too, because a lot of people misunderstand they misunderstand the real evangelist. They do. You know, because we're not trying to be better than you, and we're not trying to be pompous or anything like that. There are people who are trying to reach you and explain to you the gospel, and they want you to see what they see, because to them, they're trying to save you. They're trying to help you. Because this is what they see as the most important thing in the world. It's literally a life or death situation. And for them, the worst thing they could do is not try to help you if they think that you're not there. And it's really such an act of love, and some people want to see it as self-righteousness.
What was it? Penn and Teller, the one dude didn't. It was, I can't remember which one. The bigger one.
I know what you're gonna say.
He said, you know, he loves that people proselytize. Yeah, that word. Because think about how much you'd have to hate someone in order to know that they are, you know, heading to hell and not tell them about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and he's just not a believer.
No, he's not.
So, but he makes a great point. Like, you know, that's something we have to, even if you're not a believer, something to keep in mind, that like when people say or do things,
people you have relationships, not the guy on the street corner yelling at you and telling you you're
right.
a dirty, nasty sinner.
Although, if the guy says Jesus loves you and he's not yelling that you're a dirty, nasty sinner, maybe you go have a conversation with him. Ask him a bunch of questions. I'm just saying. Because there are good ones out there. There are good street evangelists out there.
And there are ones that I believe are...
And some of them are
just... They get a special place in hell.
Some of them...
maybe it'll just be like, they'll get... Maybe it's one of those things where when they finally get to Jesus will be like, yeah, that's not what I had in mind. Like, you're in, but you didn't really help anyone else get in.
You're in by my grace, not by...
Yeah, it's definitely not by anything you did, buddy.
Here's a mop, here's a bucket, you get the janitorial job in heaven.
I don't know. There are times, like, I think just standing, and I like going to music festivals, and that includes rock music and such like that. And I just enjoy music. I know. And but the thing is like you'll have this guy that's got signs made up and he stands outside of festivals like that just yelling at people and almost attacking people. I'm like, you're not winning anyone today. Yeah. Like somebody's got to be in a really weird place for this to work today. That's not what they're here for.
Yeah.
Whereas on the other side of that, I've been inside such festival and ended up having faith conversations with people I have a relationship with in a context that you wouldn't think that you'd have one. Mm. A whole different approach.
Yeah.
It's wild. So to me, if it works, it works. But when I can't see it working at all, I'm like, well, I think you might be missing this a little bit. You know.
Mm-hmm. So, what does it practically look like to be plugged into the church? Just go on Sunday mornings?
No, don't just punch your ticket. That's not what that means.
So what does it mean to be plugged in? I know that we're doing this completely backwards, but...
Oh, yeah, we're doing it all over the place.
What does it mean to be plugged in? What does that actually mean?
It means, well, being a part of it. finding your
Not
place.
just a participant.
Yeah. Not
Not a
just
consumer.
consuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big thing that's been going around lately is
Consumer Christianity.
well, don't be a consumer. That phrase, like,
Yeah.
they're just a consumer. They're just consuming or whatever.
Don't get me wrong. Everybody needs to be fed. But be a part of it. Being part of the church body. It's think about it like this. If you were in a hospital, right, and let's say you hurt your foot and you're getting your foot bandaged up, and then somebody's next to you is like, man, I just could use someone to stick this Band-Aid on my hand, and you had the ability to do it. That's what being part of church is. Put the Band-Aid on that person's hand while your foot's getting wrapped up. You know what I mean? It's kind of a crude image, but it works. When you come into the church and it's a place that, especially if it's a place that you're being fed spiritually, give back to that church, because you should, number one, if it is helping you grow in your faith to the Lord, then they're doing something right, and you should be praising God for that, and the best way to do it is help support that mission. Does that mean financially? Maybe. Does it mean be some of the hands and feet helping that mission go down? Possibly, yes. Maybe you should jump in. Ask if there should be places that you can help. If you think they're doing it right, then help them do it right. That doesn't mean, on the contrary, that you need to jump down someone's throat just because you think they're doing it wrong. Okay?
I do think, though, that it's important if you think that there is a better way to voice that in a way that's not lecturing, but just saying, hey.
Or condescending.
Just a hey. Have you tried it this way? And for those of us out there who are leaders, right, it's important for us to look at those things as, let me actually check it out. Yeah. Let me think about it for just a minute.
Ask questions.
Yes.
That's the best thing. And if you genuinely do it in a way that you're asking, why is it that you do it this way and maybe not that way? Or why is it that you say this and you don't say that? The crew, our staff here loves those questions. We love to answer them. We love to look into them. If we don't have an answer on the spot, we love to look into it and be like, well, I think it's this or that. Or I will be willing to consider that. Whatever it is, we're open. I also challenge you that if you're going to ask questions, be ready for answers that you're not ready for. And be
How can you be ready for answers that you're not ready for?
Which means be open to the answer, because you may not hear what you thought you're going to hear, and
you may hear what you don't want to hear.
That's another thing. And you might hear something that maybe you should be open to hearing, because it might just change your view for the better. Just saying. Could happen. It happened to me. So, yeah. But yeah, be part of it. Jump in, see where you can serve. Maybe there's a way. If you're one of those persons that you have been gifted in treasure, where you have money or you have resources or whatever it is, and you know that you could help fund or support in any way, do it. Do it. Be part of the mission. Be part of what God's doing.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like, one thing, like, I'm not saying that, that goes for all the ministries.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
Right? So, like, that goes for kids ministry. Kids ministry, they need stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They need stuff financially. They need stuff volunteer-wise. I know every church, right? What church do you know of that couldn't use some more volunteers for children's ministry, right? But they also need financial help, right? Like they got some things that they might want to do that could use some finances. Youth, obviously, because crazy amounts of money on conferences. Yes. Holy
Youth
crap!
Are expensive.
Yeah,
I'm spending so much money on this shit.
No, for real. But also podcasts.
Yeah, all of it takes money. And okay, I can't. I think Lizzie and I can agree. If we ever got to the point where somebody's like, I'd love to volunteer in kids ministry, and we looked at them and we could actually say, I love that, but we don't really have anything for you to do at the moment. That would be wild.
I don't think that will. I don't think
I'll
that's
be like,
possible.
no, I'll have you train underneath this person.
Yeah. Right. I don't know if I could ever. Like, that's amazing. I would love to have
one
that.
Of those that will never happen.
I don't think that's ever going to happen. There's always something that we need. We need more hands, feet, volunteers, just for all kinds of stuff. resources. Especially, I mean, kids and youth, man. The stuff, I mean, there's to keep kids involved, there's so much you have to do all the time, and it's got to be new, and it's got to be fresh, and then you get youth, and they're hungry.
Consumable, like it's actually like.
Well, and one thing too, and I really do. We need to do a podcast on spiritual gifting, or maybe a series on spiritual gifting. But like, just because if you're passionate about something, right? God's placed something on your heart, but you feel like you have zero gifting in that area, you're wrong. You've got something that God is building inside of you, and God has designed you specifically and paired it with a passion for something to be used in that area. Like, just don't pigeonhole yourself is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Don't pigeonhole yourself because, oh, well, my gifting is in administration. How can I help with youth?
And don't avoid things just because they're a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's called growth.
That's a good thing.
That's how you grow. No pain, no gain.
Actually, that's how I know it's from God sometimes, is because I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. And he's like,
he creates those pain points.
Yeah. But yeah, be part of the church. Find out how you can help, man. It's there's always something. There's always something. And you know what? Here's something that nobody thinks about. And this doesn't mean that we need 500 door holders, but I'll tell you this. I've heard more stories from other pastors about people in their congregations that talk about door holders than you can possibly imagine. I don't even know how many. It is wild how many times that as a pastor we hear about people that hold the door and smile at people and wave and welcome them in. It's incredible. Everything that you do, anything that can be done in the church to help the mission forward makes a difference. And there's something you could find, something you can do.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. And if you're feeling loved, help someone else feel loved. That's basically what it comes down to. It's awesome.
Time, talent, treasure.
Time, talent, and treasure.
Yeah. So, and like I mentioned before, we got some cool stuff that's happening with our podcast. We have now joined the Christian podcast community. If you haven't checked them out, you really should. They've got a Discord that they're working on. I am now a part of the helping work on the Discord. And for those of you who don't know what Discord is, it is like the coolest
worst thing to put in the hands of your middle schoolers.
Oh, that's true. But if you're involved in it, then it can be quite useful because they love to be on it. It started out as a chat for gamers.
Yeah.
And is actually just a really good organizational chat app, I guess. I mean,
the problem with it sorry, about my comment, just to explain. My sons, who are 12, found it as a workaround to be able to text, call, and FaceTime their friends.
Well, technically, they're not even supposed to be on there because they're under 13.
Yeah, but they found a way, and so just be careful. Anyway.
No, that's true. That's true, too. But with anything can be dangerous. But they are on that. I will share that in the future once it's where they want it to be for me to share it. They may already want that, but I just joined last night, so I have to figure all that stuff out. But so be looking out for that.
Coming attractions.
And they've got all kinds of podcasts on there, so there may be something else that, you're interested in as well. We are in the process of working on some Patreon stuff. We have some new ideas on what we can do for that. We haven't kicked that off yet, but I feel like it's coming sometime in the fall, maybe early winter.
Yep.
And so watch out for that. Any kind of things that you guys think that you'd be interested in helping out with, or things that you think that we could improve on, we're all ears. Let's hear that.
If you have questions, ask them.
That's the biggest one, right? That is the biggest one. We want to know what you want to know, right?
Yeah. We need yours, because we have a box full of talking points, but we want to know what you want to talk about.
Yeah. So, as we said earlier, right? The church is not about consumers, but contributors, and it's a give and take. A contributor has some give and take. So we would love for you to spend a little bit of time with us, giving us thoughts and questions and topics and
just interactions.
Yeah. And you could buy T-shirts. There's T-shirts. If you go to our Linktree, you can actually buy T-shirts. We don't get any of the money, but you can buy them on demand. So
Right,
you could be supporting
rework
us.
This.
Yeah, well, it costs money up front to get money.
I have something we can use.
Okay.
We'll talk later.
He's got a thing.
All right.
So there's
see how that
apparently
goes.
there's merch coming too. So there's a little bit of merch out there. Actually, there's some kids shirts you could even get. So you could have your kids sporting us. Everything. So, but all realness, we love doing this. We really appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, share, please. If you're not watching us on YouTube, then you're not watching us, because when we switched over, we no longer have video on the other platforms. But you can watch us on YouTube.
Yep.
And we still are on those other platforms through audio. Yeah. And we appreciate you guys. God bless.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Make sure to subscribe and give us a like on iTunes and Spotify so that you will never miss a show. And while you're at it, check out our Facebook and Instagram pages and make sure you tell your friends about this show. You don't want them to miss out on the truth, because we are all about the truth here. Thanks for joining us this week, and God bless.